Well, hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about, are you a love language hypocrite? So put it in the comments if you know right off the bat that you are a hypocrite when it comes to love languages. Now, I've made a lot of love language videos. Check out my playlist and you can see them all. But in case you don't know them, the love languages are physical touch, gifts, acts of service, words of affirmation, and quality time. And so those are the languages that we speak when it comes to love. So if you're always frustrated in your love relationships or even friend relationships or work relationships, it could be because someone is not speaking your love language and it's irritating and frustrating. So today I just want you to think a little bit differently about love languages. I want to challenge you to think about, is there a love language that you do, or let me say it differently. Is there a love language that you love it when somebody does this love language for you, but you hate doing that love language? Sounds weird, right? Things can get a little complicated pretty quickly. I know people who seem to do all of the love languages or most of them, but don't receive any of them well. So think about yourself. And sometimes you may not know this unless you happen across it. You happen to be in a situation with someone and you make this discovery. And I have made this discovery about myself, and I'm kind of fascinated and intrigued by it. So I'm just curious about other people to see, do you have this issue also? So I'm going to tell you about me personally. However, please don't be offended by it. Everyone is totally different. And I also don't want you to take it and apply it to your own personal situation, like, oh, I guess I better not be like that because someone might hate it. Someone else might love it. Okay? So this is what I discovered about myself. Acts of service is probably number 4 for me. So I'm kind of the type of person, I've numbered mine from 1 to 5 because I had 3 that were kind of competing with each other for my favorites. But 4 is definitely acts of service. And then the last one for me is actually quality time. And what I've noticed about acts of service is that I love it when a guy does acts of service for me. And I like it when friends do acts of service for me as well. But I found out, I guess some years ago, that when a guy does acts of service for me, it totally melts me. I'm putty. I find that extremely attractive. On the flip side, when there's a man, and this is going to sound weird, when there's a man who expects me to do acts of service all the time, and let's add another piece to that, he loves receiving the acts of service but doesn't really give it, I find that hugely unattractive. It's a huge turn off for me. And the reason why all of this is shocking is because, like I said, it's not one of my love languages. It's number 4. But if there's a guy that does that for me, it almost pushes it up to my number 1, even though that's not what I asked for in a relationship. For me, my favorite love languages are words of affirmation. When somebody says, I'm really appreciative of you, or thank you. Gifts. I like gifts. I like giving gifts. I like receiving gifts. It makes me happy. So I just think it's really weird that, because I had a guy once who just totally, it was, do you need me to do something with your car? Do you need me to put something in your car? Do you need me to come and help you with this? Here, give it to me. I'll sweep in here. I mean, just tons of acts of service. Just totally take. I don't know if it was the take chargeness of it, or it was just like, I'm just coming in and I see where there's a need and I'm gonna help you with that. That was so attractive to me. And it really shocked me. By the same token, there was another guy who was the total opposite. It was serve me, feed me, sweep for me, do all the things that are very acts of service. And there would be a lot of other things in there that were very acts of service, like things that he was really naturally great at. He wanted me to do those things for him, but I'm not, I wasn't good at those things. So he would actually teach me and try to train me to do all of those acts of service types of things. So for me, it just felt like this is so inefficient. You are way better at this than me. You already know how to do it. So why don't you do it? Just do it. And instead, it would be the things that I was good at or that I already knew how to do. He would actually want to coach me and train me on doing those things. And it was just like, okay, this is also a waste of time. This doesn't make any sense. I didn't get it. And then he would try to find something wrong with how I was doing things that came natural to me. It's like he had to find a flaw or something wrong or something changed. And that just fed his ego for some reason and made him think that he was great at something. It was just really weird. So I think that's why love languages are so important and why you have to really understand them. And it's also important because a love language could be a deal breaker. I really think love languages can be and sometimes should be a deal breaker in a relationship because it's just too much trouble. It's just too much trouble, you know? Like, like I said, I liked like I like acts of service when it comes to relationships, but I am hugely turned off if a guy wants me to do acts of service, but he doesn't do them. Now, to complicate things a little bit further, and you might be just as intricate or have some kind of twists and turns to your love languages, and I want you to really think about that. For me, like, I know a lot of people like to hire somebody to come into their house and help them clean up and do all of those things. I really struggle with acts of service with that kind of stuff. Number one. Number two, I struggle with asking for any type of acts of service from me. It doesn't come across right. I remember a lady was helping me with a lot of things and I would overly, and I found out that I think I was getting on her nerves because I was just like, do you need anything else? Do you need any help? Do you need some water? Do you need something, a snack? I was just, because I felt so guilty. This person is doing all this stuff for me and I should have just stepped back and let her do her thing, but it's so uncomfortable for me. Also, like if I had somebody to help me clean up my house, I'm not quality time. And I know that might not make sense, but this to have somebody in my space, I would have to figure that out. It would be nice to have the help, but then I feel like, well, what am I supposed to be doing while you're here? Like, what am I supposed to be making conversations with you? I know that sounds silly, but when you think about your love language and what you do not like, you probably feel the same weird awkwardness. So it's like, golly, I would love some help. But now you're in my space and I could be doing something else, or you might be in a room that I really want to be doing something in. I don't know. Love languages can be selfish too. It triggers our selfishness in a way. Or is it really selfish, or is it just a skill that you're not good at? Put it in the comments what you think it is. Is it being selfish when you don't do someone else's love language? Or could it be considered a skill that you're just not that great at? And I'm not that great at that. I'm not great at entertaining people. That doesn't come natural to me. I'd rather go to somebody else's house and, hey, because I feel their comfortableness. As far as like, serving someone a plate of food. Some people can do that and it looks so pretty. Me, the spaghetti is going to be hanging off the side of the plate. That's not, I don't do that kind of stuff well. I have had people to tell me that I'm extremely good at acts of service, at serving other people, jumping in and helping in situations, making things run smoothly, helping out. And my response to them is, it's because you're always doing acts of service for me. And that's why I'm always doing acts of service for you. So you might think that's another complication, but I want you to think about that with yourself. Are there exceptions to the rules when you find yourself kind of okay with doing a love language that's out of your realm? So I am motivated to do acts of service when someone is always doing it for me. I feel like returning the favor. It gives me the energy to want to do it because I do appreciate when somebody steps in and they help me. It does feel great a lot of times. And so it just triggers me to jump in because I don't want to be a user. And it's not even for that reason. I'm not even thinking about it really. It comes very naturally. And so that's the problem that I had with the guy who was constantly demanding, I want to be treated like a king, do acts of services for me, but he never did them back. He would say things like, I can support you on that. And I don't know what the support was, because it would just be a constant, I'm doing this for you. So another motivator would be, if someone is doing my love language, I would appreciate it so much that it would trigger me to really push through and try to do the other person's love language. I think that would give me motivation and energy. But if it's just one-sided, I'm doing a love language that I don't like and you never do mine, and that goes for anybody. That goes for all of us. We need to check ourselves on that. If someone is doing your love language all the time and you love it and you're willing to stay in that relationship, are you feeding into that person? Are you pouring into that person as well? Because that's going to get old. That person is going to feel drained eventually. That's not going to work. So, I don't know. I'm just curious to hear, do you have some lopsided love languages that just, it doesn't make sense, or it shocks you that you love it? One of the things that I also wanted to talk about too, really quickly, is and this doesn't just apply to acts of service. The reason I'm focused on it is because it's one of my least favorite. I'm not naturally good at it. I have to really work at it to be as good as other people. And it's just uncomfortable. It's just, I was listening to a guy's video the other day on YouTube, and he was talking about, it was his day off, and someone called him, and I'm assuming it was a family member, because I think people can be more honest when it's a family member. And they asked him, hey, I really need you to come and help me out with a few things around the house or whatever this weekend, or something that I need done. And he was like frustrated and like, I wanted to spend my weekend resting and rejuvenating. I don't want to go over, and I'm assuming things like lifting furniture or moving things around or carrying some items and taking them somewhere. And at the end of the day, his video, basically he concluded by saying, I'm a selfish person. He said that he apologized and he went and did the acts of service for the person because he was a very selfish person. And my comment to him was, you're just not acts of service. Just like, people will get angry because I'm not quality time. Even though before pre-COVID, I did a ton of quality time. I would compensate for it because I know that's not me. I know I have a lot of friends who that is theirs. And so I would try to make up for it. At some point in the year, we're doing some stuff together, or you're having an event. I'm going to go. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to make that sacrifice because I care. I want my friends to feel loved, right? But sometimes people who get mad about quality time, they don't do my love languages either, Like, I like gifts, or I like hearing, oh, thank you, that was so cool. And they just get the gift and go on home with it. And you never hear if they liked it or they didn't. So we're all guilty. Every single person is guilty of doing their favorite love language much better than they do that of other people. And so we have to be careful not to be hypocrites. Like, I'm mad because you're not doing mine. But when I check myself, well, I'm kind of not doing yours either. But I guess one of the things, and you tell me in the comments if you notice hypocrisy with any other love language. But I noticed that people who are acts of service, there are some of them that get, okay, on one hand, there's the group that probably gets taken advantage of because they're constantly giving in that way. Helping you with your tire, helping you with this, helping you with that. What do you need? I'll bring you food. I'll help you. Do you need me to take this bill and go pay it for you? And they can start to feel frustrated because it's never reciprocated, or they're using all their energy that way, even though they love doing it. I know my parents are both very acts of service driven, and I've definitely seen them get taken advantage of, which is probably why I really carefully dip into it, because I've seen that so much where they're pouring into so many people, doing acts of service, and barely get a thank you, And in fact, if you want to, I did a video with my mom recently. I'll try to link it in the description box below in case anybody wants to see it. She's an INTJ, And so you can hear her talking about a few things and see what your opinion is if you think she's an INTJ. Also, I'm an ENFJ though, by the way, just in case you really like Myers-Briggs. This channel has a ton of Myers-Briggs videos, and I have my own spin. I have my own style. I have my own brand. I don't do it like anyone else. What else? I was saying that on the other side of being taken advantage of are the acts of service people who take advantage of other people. They love being poured into. They love it so much that they constantly ask for it. Will you do me a favor? Will you do this for me? You know? And they never or they rarely give it back in return. I mean, some of them do both, but there are some people that I've known that love acts of service. But I'm thinking of one who, I mean, the whole family is super stingy, like they're not very giving. They might give you a penny or give someone else a penny that's in need, but it's basically take, 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 take. And you can tell that they just relish in being given to and treated. But it's like, what do you do in return? So, how are you hypocritical? I think I am codependent, and I know I'm codependent. And so I'm really working on that. I probably could do some type of video on codependency. It's kind of like you're always kind of worried about the needs of other people or meeting other people's needs and not getting yours met very much. And so I can go without my needs being met. And that's probably a bad habit, you know? I need to allow people to give to me and actually enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy it, don't get me wrong. But it's just, there have definitely been seasons in my life where I felt like I'm doing other people's love languages. I'm giving, giving, giving. And they're not paying any attention to what, mine is. So I'm just trying to think, are you a hypocrite? And am I a hypocrite? Yes, I am a hypocrite because, like I said, I rarely, I'm not going to ask too much for acts of service because I don't want to be a hypocrite. And I know I'm probably not going to want to give it much in return. And that's just how my brain thinks. However, when I do receive it, I do really enjoy it. Sometimes I even feel extremely guilty. But when there's somebody who's requiring me to do the same thing, I don't like it. I don't like it. Especially if it was in a love relationship. Like you want to be served constantly, but you never want to serve. That combination. So it's, if it's give and take, I can handle it better. If we're both doing acts of services for each other, that fuels me in a sense. Even if it's not quite fair, it does fuel me and makes me, it motivates me to want to make you feel as good as I feel. But when it's a lazy guy, just super lazy and just takes, pour into me, but I'm not doing, that is such a turn off for me that it's almost just disgusting. I mean, I'm just going to tell you the truth. I hate it. I hate that. And I don't know if that's fair because, like I said, we're hypocrites. So I want to know in the comments, Are you a hypocrite? Are you a hypocrite? Love languages, we can look at other people and be like, man, I mean, like, I would be giving thank yous for things. Anything somebody did for me, I write a thank you, and I would have people to tell me, golly, you're so good at that, and I'm not. I mean, sometimes it helps to be able to just admit our flaws and our faults and allow other people to admit their faults and their flaws. That helps if they say, hey, I'm just not good at that. To just be honest sometimes about what you're good at and what you're not good at. I think that really makes things better when you can acknowledge that kind of stuff. I think sometimes in a romantic relationship, you can try to do all of them. If you can, is that really over the top? Is that being like workplace narcissist level? Like, well, I'm just going to do all of them. Is that unrealistic? I think you would have to figure out what the other person likes and what they don't like. If you're constantly giving someone gifts and it's irritating them and aggravating them, then I would say hold back from that. So, what's your love language? And are you hypocritical in some area of love languages, that you love when people do a certain thing for you, but you do not like doing that certain thing for them? And it's not a bad thing. It's just, hey, I love this. It's about knowing who you are and what you like and what you do not like. To me, that's what it's about. Like, I'm not going to turn down acts of service. I mean, people have really helped me tremendously, and I didn't know how much I love it. And I just think it's strange. I think it's strange. How can you love a love language being done for you, but you really feel awkward, or you're not good at giving it back, or you're not interested in giving it back? I'd rather give you a gift, to say thank you for helping me, or write you a nice little note. On an interesting note, definitely words of affirmation is more my thing. So like if somebody has a problem, I could talk to them endlessly about it. If I see something that I like, I'm going to let the person know, because there have been things, I've known people who were not words of affirmation, and then I find out years later that they like something that I do, or like somebody said, I like the way you decorate, or, somebody once said, I like, I might notice something that someone is wearing and I like it, but I don't verbalize it. And it's not, the person was really sweet. It's just, they don't need that. And so they don't give it. But sometimes it's nice to know what someone is thinking, especially if it's something positive, and if that person is words of affirmation, then that's gonna make them feel really amazing. I know lately what has been weird to me is I have done some customer service things over the phone, or where I'm actually asking for something to be corrected or supported or changed. And before I get off the phone, and this happened to me yesterday, where I'm asking for something to be corrected and the person tells me that I made their day, and that something about me just made them feel so good. And I'm like, really? I'm not trying, but it makes me feel amazing that I can make somebody feel good, you know? And it definitely is always my goal with customer service to not mistreat the people who are in that playing that's their role in life. I want to treat them with incredible respect and kindness and try to solve whatever it is in the nicest way possible. But I'm telling you, I've gotten free stuff, all kind of stuff, and I'm not even asking for it. I just am polite. I try to be polite, and man, hey, just being kind to people, I think maybe that's what it is. But I'm always shocked, and that keeps happening, you know? So anyway, go out and use your love language for good today. Do something positive for somebody. And it's okay to have your strength. We have to have a world with everyone's love languages at play. That's really important. We don't want a world where it's totally lopsided, right? Okay, so definitely put in the comments what your love language is. And if you are a hypocrite in some way, also check out my book called The Workplace Narcissist. If you are dealing with difficult people who are just take, it could be because they are the workplace narcissist, which there are people who are married to those types of people. It's just basically a workaholic type of narcissist, but they can also be very appealing and very attractive and very alluring and just have all these things about them that are that reel you in, and then before you know it, you got a monster on your hands who's hurting you emotionally all the time. So definitely check out my book or recommend it to somebody that you know is struggling with somebody who's difficult. And I hope my book will help them. All right, you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me for a little while, my little friends. And I will see you guys on the next video.